Kia ora, talofa namaste, haere mai, and welcome to the Niche Cache. This is our method of talking about Aotearoa sports. We have plenty to discuss. We've got lots of football. Always got a lot of football to discuss. I love Porirua. Porirua hasn't really been on my sporting radar much recently. I believe Jerry Collins is from Porirua. Just need to double check that.
It's Jerry Collins Park is in Porirua.
There you go. So that's a massive thing because Porirua hasn't really been on my sporting radar since the tragic passing of Jerry Collins. But the Wellington focus, it's a lot of tawa with cricket because you got the tawa cartel. Rugby league, a lot of Te Aroha, Wainui, Mata areas because like Jacob Laban's from there. And obviously we always talk about Christchurch, we always talk about the regions in Aotearoa, the Darfields and all sorts of stuff, but Porirua is back on the map thanks to the Wellington Phoenix Women, who are one of the best Aotearoa sporting thingamajigs right now. I love watching the Wellington Phoenix Women, and I especially love Porirua Park, especially now that they have flipped the filming setup around. Because you get the full grandstand. They got the little activity zone like Mount Smart, which everyone's copying, which is smart, because it's from Mount Smart. That's good. You got the hill. We always love a hill in Aotearoa sports. That's the beautiful thing about cricket in Aotearoa is you can just sit on the hill and watch some cricket. You can lay down, you can sit down, you can sit in a chair, you can play a game of cricket. That is there for the football at Porirua because you've got a big embankment down one end. And I also think it's cool, like obviously behind the players, there's not going to be too many fans because that's where they're filming. They've got all the scaffolding and stuff, and there's just that empty space. I'd rather have the players and the coaches, the bench, on this side of the field looking at the grandstand than on the other side of the field behind the grandstand looking out at just empty space. Because when I think about like Albany, the players, the bench is back to the grandstand looking out at just empty space. Porirua Park, Jerry Collins Stadium. Yes, Jerry Collins Stadium, Porirua Park. That is kind of silly that the Wellington Phoenix Women are not playing at Jerry Collins Stadium, assuming it is Jerry Collins Stadium.
They are, but they never call it Jerry Collins Stadium. It's always called Porirua Park. I'm pretty sure it's the same place. I don't think they have two stadiums there. I don't know why that is. Maybe that's it can't be a sponsorship thing because Jerry Collins isn't sponsoring it. It's named in his honor. I don't know why that is. It's just always Porirua Park, isn't it?
Yeah, that's weird. So I'll call it Jerry Collins Stadium from now on. The players and the staff are looking out at the grandstand, and nowadays, because the Wellington Phoenix Women are one of the coolest teams in Aotearoa, that grandstand's full. So all these players are just looking at their fans. I think that's pretty cool, and I love what the Wellington Phoenix Women are doing. I thank them for putting Porirua back on the map at Jerry Collins Stadium. We've also got Elijah Just in fantastic form. You said in our newsletter, thenichecache.substack.com. In summary, Elijah Just is the most informed Kiwi footballer right now. So we've got to talk about Elijah Just. We've got to talk about Michael Vout and Auckland FC.
A little bit, maybe. Just a little bit.
No, I've got to keep it humble because that was a devastating blow. And of course, the Wellington Phoenix men had a big loss because they are one of the most inconsistent Kiwi sports teams in the whole wide world. Super Smash Cricket, Breakers, Tall Ferns, bit of Sam Ruthe update as well. But we want to start with the Blackcaps, who are in a warm-up series against India. They're just playing a few warm-up games, T20 games, just getting the juices flowing, hitting a few sixes, bowling a few deliveries in preparation for the T20 World Cup. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. Just a warm-up series for the T20 World Cup. So congratulations to India. You're winning a warm-up series on your home turf. Big up to you. Sure, you think you're the best cricket team in the world, which isn't true because that is Aotearoa. And the Blackcaps have lost all their warm-up games. But like to show how much this is a warm-uppy series, and this is where we're moving through these different pieces of Kiwi cricket. Christian Clark. Love Christian Clark. Same way I love Zach Fox. Not only is Christian Clark a very good cricketer for New Zealand, he'll play a lot of cricket for New Zealand in the future, but we've seen him eating popcorn with a towel on his head. We've had a few funny moments of Christian Clark already in Kiwi cricket. I don't believe Christian Clark is among the best T20 bowlers from New Zealand. But he's played a game in the series and he was part of the squad, which was actually quite a smart move because he was already in India. He was already playing for the Blackcaps. He's a player who will play a lot more for the Blackcaps. So just keep him in the squad and just keep integrating him, keep developing him, which is what the Blackcaps do a fantastic job of because he was brought into the ODI squad against England. And he wasn't going to play, so he just ate popcorn on the sideline. And yesterday in the Super Smash, tough losses for Central Districts, finals on the line, and they both lost in pretty diabolical fashion to Auckland. So that was a bummer, but we did get Will Young on the mic saying how, like, the ODI series against India, and the Blackcaps are a far better ODI team than T20 team, so that needs to be said. But there was a lot of work in that series to share with players, talk about culture, talk about representing New Zealand, lay those foundations, which I think has been a major factor in Rob Walter's first few months in charge, because the tour of Zimbabwe and then the test series against West Indies, all the cricket that Rob Walter has been a part of, he has used so many players. Like, he has been working with such a wide variety of players that I think now, reflecting on it, we've seen the foundations of like real cultural stuff, like the mana of the Blackcaps representing Kiwis, playing like Kiwis, because after the ODI series, and this would have been top of mind for these players, they were talking about, we're just Kiwis taking on the world and just their cultural values and stuff like that. So a lot of that hard work would have been done in the ODI series, and I think that would have continued because you're still integrating a few different players into the group. Christian Clark keeps his development journey going. Tim Robinson's keeping his development journey going. Like, these players are in development phases as Blackcaps cricketers. The moment that ODI series finished and the T20 series was sparked up, then we're sharpening towards T20 World Cup. And I think there is a bit of a different vibe to not only the Blackcaps a far better ODI team than T20 team, which is evident in their results outside of World Cups and major tournaments, but it's also evident in World Cups and major tournaments because they always make the semi-finals of one-day tournaments, which other nations do not do. And they make the final, and maybe they should win some of the finals if the cricket cartel did not exist. They aren't that as good in T20s, and there's even more players for T20s, right? Because now you're bringing in these T20 jobbers from around the world, but the series is also right before a T20 World Cup. So instead of like, okay, we're here to build out the Blackcaps culture, we're here to lay down some foundations, obviously play, I think ODI cricket is New Zealand's best format, so we're going to be playing our best format. We know how to win games. We know how to win in India. We're going to keep trucking along there. As soon as the format's changed, then you're starting to build towards the T20 World Cup. And my point at the start was Christian Clark. He is not as good as Ben Sears at T20 bowler. Like, that is an absolute fact. I wouldn't have Christian Clark. He's not in my top 15 for T20 cricketers. And to be honest, I don't think Christian Clark's in my top 20 for T20 cricketers in Aotearoa. But there's a development exercise going on. There are the logistics of this T20 situation ahead of the T20 World Cup. And I think the results against India in this warm-up series for the T20 World Cup reflect what is happening in the Blackcaps right now. And ultimately, I think they're in an information gathering phase. That is what I'm telling myself to try and swing myself back to we're going to win the T20 World Cup. Because you've had 3 losses, pretty heavy losses, that's right, because India, they're in a different little phase. You know, they were hurt because we always beat them in India. So obviously they gotta big up themselves, they gotta win some games, and they all think they're the best nation in the world and all this stuff. That's cool. The Blackcaps haven't had 3 of their best T20 cricketers in this series. Lockie Ferguson, Tim Seifert, and of course Jimmy Neesham, the bowler. Because he is one of our best T20 bowlers, apparently. Still seems crazy to say. So, like, the squad for this T20 series against India is not... Well, let me break it down simple. T20 cricketers in their best format. They don't have their best T20 players in the series. They're preparing for a T20 World Cup. And ultimately, they're just gathering information. I think the information gathering, based on what we know about Kiwi cricket fundamentals and the Blackcaps, is very important. It's a very important perspective for what is happening right now, because they're just doing research. They're just gathering information, figuring out different conditions, figuring out different players, their skill sets, how they perform under pressure and stuff like that. And all of which is to say, they've already lost the series. They're already 3-zip down. So I'm going to make the YouTube title to this video the same as last week, but they have lost the T20 series. But I'm still very chill. I'm still very calm, and I am curious how it looks moving forward. Which again, theme of the niche case is the complete opposite of everyone else's cricket coverage, because New Zealand, India trounce New Zealand in T20. India dominate New Zealand in T20. Okay, you're smacking up some depth T20 cricketers from New Zealand in a warm-up series. Like, congratulations.
Yeah, it's not fun seeing us get kind of thrashed in these games. Because of the timing of, they were like 2:30 in the morning. But they're T20 games, so I could like get up at, I don't know, 6:30, chuck it on the Sky Go, sit there hitting the fast forward by 10 seconds button as many times as I need, and you can breeze through a T20 game in like an hour in the morning of doing it that way. So I did that with the first 2 games, and then I didn't with the third, because by that point, it only got worse. So I haven't actually seen anything from that one.
That's when you realized they were taking the piss. So you didn't need to.
That's why I didn't watch it, because I was like, I'm not getting out of this what I thought I was going to get out of this. Hopefully the Blackcaps are getting something good out of it, but it's not the thing that I would watch it for. When I could be watching, highlights of Elijah Just or whatever scoring another goal, and getting clips up on the channels of that. But it's like, that's a seriously good Indian T20 side, and we're sort of at the era now. I was thinking about this watching a few of the earlier ones, but we're sort of at the era now where their T20 specialists have come entirely through IPL. Like, their whole careers have been IPL built, and you can see that because they've got like little guys who don't seem like they would be that good of an athlete but they're slugging sixes that go miles beyond the boundary, and also they can't catch. Like after an era with like Virat Kohli and Ravi Jadeja and some of the best fielders in the world coming from India, they sort of seem like they're reverting back because now they've just got big hitters and they can't field at all. And there's like boundaries that are, boundaries that are splitting two fielders. It's like either of you could have got there if you just ran a little bit faster or tried to dive or things like that. But it doesn't matter because they score 220 every innings. So who cares?
Yeah,
and also,
well,
actually, in the second game, our fielding wasn't very good either. So
who cares about India? Why are you talking about India?
to point out that they're trying very hard to win these games. And they're picking a team that's going to look a lot like what they're going to have at the T20 World Cup. And we're not, because where's Finn Allen out there winning the Big Bash? Where's Tim Seifert doing whatever he's doing? Where's Jimmy
Well, he's
Neesham
played
was
two
another one you
games.
mentioned. Who has?
Tim Seifert.
Tim
Yeah.
Seifert's back for this series. Yeah, you're right. Where are Tim Seifert's runs? But I don't know. It just doesn't. It's weird to watch what feels like a World Cup warm-up series where it's like this isn't actually a World Cup squad, or it's there's a big overlap. There's a lot of guys that will be there. There's also some that aren't. We've had the injury replacement as well with Adam Milne dropping out and Carl Jamieson coming in, which was maybe the most predictable New Zealand cricket thing that's happened in a while.
Yeah. Anytime I've brought up Adam Milne, you've told me he's going to be injured, and he was injured.
And what do you know? He got injured. So.
And I think we should be open-minded to the possibility that Lockie Ferguson will also be injured, because he is always injured.
It is true. It's a sad truth, but we should probably be aware of that.
This is the thing about the Blackcaps is we've got Ben Sears dominating the Super Smash, and everything about Ben Sears was designed for T20 cricket, because he didn't play much cricket while coming back from injury. They sent him to Melbourne to play club cricket, T20 cricket, while the Plunkett Shield was going on in New Zealand. So they only wanted him to play T20 cricket, because then he flows back into the Super Smash. He's dominating the Super Smash. He seems like the perfect dude to bring into the squad ahead of, obviously, Christian Clark. I also think Ben Sears should be in the travelling reserve spot filled by Kyle Jamieson previously, ahead of Zach Folks. And that is the point about the Blackcaps' depth, because, again, we've got heaps of seamers out injured and stuff like that. But Ben Sears, I think, is one of our best T20 bowlers, and he's not there. But I think there's a clear opportunity to get him there, and that's all good.
Yeah, I think he would be the next one up. I would hope he'd be the next one up as well. He would be the closest to a sort of like for like replacement you could get for Lockie Ferguson anyway, just at least in terms of having like someone who can bowl consistently 140 plus would be always nice to have one of those guys in your T20 side. Will O'Rourke obviously out injured, so he's not an option. Ben Sears would make a lot of sense. And I don't know, toss a coin whether or not Lockie Ferguson gets injured along the way, or maybe someone else. These things do happen. Remember Devon Conway breaking a finger during a T20 World Cup once upon a time. Devon Conway, who's playing a lot of cricket on this tour, but also you went through this in the newsletter, probably not first 11 T20 player.
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Well,
I wouldn't go as far as definitely, but I think we're getting towards that. Yeah.
Who's Devon Conway better than?
Well, I'm not saying he's better than someone else. I'm just saying he's. I don't know, because you'd really only open him, mate. Like you couldn't bat him at 3, 4, or 5. So he would have to be better than Finn Allen and Tim Seifert and maybe Rachin Ravindra. Although I think Ravindra fits better at 3.
Let's get into this.
Yeah, let's do this.
Seifert and Allen are our best openers. And then like Devon Conway's the backup opener. That's all right. But he's
and the backup keeper.
And the backup keeper, he's not even close to Tim Seifert or Finn Allen. And like you can go stats, you can go eye test, you can go whatever you want. he's just a lefty Kane Williamson T20 batter, statistically. And shout out Kane Williamson. Wanted to spend more time with his family, wanted to manage his workload and all this stuff, and he's gone from SA20 to the Bangladesh League, and he's a Bangladesh champion. So shout out Kane Williamson. Wanted to spend more time with his family, and he's spent the summer in South Africa and Bangladesh. Shout out to you. Had a pretty shitty SA20, and then he went to Bangladesh and he scored some runs. So obviously Kane Williamson's an absolute T20 legend. But in the series against India, Devon Conway's averaging 6.6. Strike rate of 154, that's right. Every strike rate should be high in the series because it's like they just have T20 Roux as pitches in India.
Yeah.
Since October 1st, which is basically the Australia series onwards, Devon Conway's got 19 average and a strike rate of 118. He's played 11 games.
Okay. You can have your definitely back.
The funky thing here, though, is I don't know who's better at T20 batting internationally between Devon Conway and Rachin Ravindra. And that's my conundrum, because I want Rachin Ravindra in my first 11. I think, just batting talent, he should be in the team. I think if you go Fennell and Tim Seifert, Rachin Ravindra, Glenn Phillips, Daryl Mitchell, and Mark Chapman, that's right. But, and this is probably the theme of this podcast, is just adjusting things, and we're taking snapshots at the moment, so we're always just tinkering and altering our opinions and insights. I want Rachin Ravindra to be a first 11 T20 batter, but there's nothing to suggest he should be, because he's averaging 18 with a strike rate of 130, and in the series he's averaging 16 with a strike rate of 136. And in the Super Smash, Rachin Ravindra was averaging 15, strike rate of 131. That's the issue with Rachin Ravindra as a T20 batter. Ben Sears went back to Super Smash. He is dominating as he should. Now, funnily enough, some of the legends that we like to put on a pedestal haven't been dominating Super Smash because maybe the other players are just better than Marty Guptill, and maybe Lachlan Stackpole is just better than Colin Munro. Hold those thoughts. But Rachin Ravindra's not really done anything in Super Smash for a while. And obviously strike rates are big in T20 cricket. Strike rates are more important than averages. Well, first of all, Ravindra's Super Smash strike rate was 131. His strike rate against India was 136. T20 international career 135. T20s generally 139. None of those strike rates are good enough to absorb low averages. If you've got a strike rate of 160 and you're averaging 15, honkadory, no issues. Because you're hitting 15 runs really, really fast. Rachin Ravindra, let's say generously, he's scoring 20 runs at a pretty slow rate. And that's not good enough to be a first 11 T20 batter for the Blackcaps right now. You could make a case Tim Robinson should be playing ahead of Rachin Ravindra. Let alone Bevan Jacobs. Because those dudes, Robinson's dominated his chances in New Zealand, T20 International. I haven't really seen Rachin Ravindra do that. Robinson has been one of the best Super Smash batters in his career. Haven't seen Rachin Ravindra do that, let alone Bevan Jacobs. I'm not exactly sure about the status of Bevan Jacobs right now because he hasn't played in the series. Again, we're taking the piss because maybe he should be a first 11 batter, and maybe, just maybe, here's another hot take, the next test batter is going to be Bevan Jacobs, no one else. Because he's not just a T20 batter. And I'd like to update, let's just remind myself, what's Bevan Jacobs averaging in first class cricket? 53.2. So there's a case to be made, Bevan Jacobs will be the next test batter from Aotearoa. But, I don't know what, the issue I've got with Rachin Ravindra is that he hasn't, there's similar mediocrity in his domestic T20 stuff with his international T20 stuff. And if this was New Zealand cricket in 2011, 2007, Rachin Ravindra would be automatic first 11. But we've got so many options. And like I could see a situation where he's opening. He's not opening ahead of Seifert or Allen. And maybe he shouldn't open ahead of Devon Conway because Devon Conway is the next best opener. That could go either way. I think Ravindra's batted 3 in every game in the series. And that is a position where I would like a little bit of a higher average. Especially when you got so many hitters around, like Seifert, Allen, strike rates. Glenn Phillips, Daryl Mitchell, Mark Chapman, strike rate stuff. Mitchell Santner, strike rates. Michael Bracewell, strike rates. Those are the dudes you want having good strike rates. And Kane Williamson was in the T20 team as a high average batter. He didn't have the strike rates, he had the average. That's Rachin Ravindra's role, and he doesn't have the strike rate, he doesn't have the average. It is crazy. And so I don't know what the options are, but I just don't think Rachin Ravindra should be viewed as an automatic first 11 batter, nor should Devon Conway. And both have played all 3 games in the series, which is ultimately a nice summary of where the Blackcaps are at in this series. Whereas, like, you compare those stats, like Santner, 94 runs in 3 games, strike rate of 165. Glenn Phillips, 145 runs, strike rate of 156. Mark Chapman's got the higher average and the lower strike rate, so he's doing that Ravindra job. Tim Robinson only played 1 game, strike rate of 140, 21 runs. Daryl Mitchell, 60 runs, strike rate of 162. Seifert, strike rate of 150. With the current team, if you're a Ravindra or a Conway, you need to have a high strike rate and a high average, or else you're not really doing the best thing for the team.
Yeah, I think with Ravindra, it almost feels like a lot of his T20 career internationally has been like an assumption. Like it's because he was from day one when he was first played for the Blackcaps. It was like this is the boy wonder guy. This is gonna the dude who's gonna long term fill Kane Williamson's shoes and special talent, etc., etc. And they sort of shoehorned him into the test team for a little bit, batting at like 7 or 8 and bowling a bit of spin, and that didn't really work, but it was like a nice little introduction for him. But then his ODI World Cup a couple of years ago, spectacular. Like that was the burst onto the scene, big tournament stuff, scores a bunch of hundreds, fantastic. Then he follows it up, proves himself in the test team, batting at like his proper position, 3, 4, 5 sort of range, scores a double hundred against South Africa. He's got a couple more big hundreds as well since then. Not another double hundred, but he's got 2 other 150s out of his 4 centuries in Test cricket. The lowest of them is 134, and he's got 3 times he's gone on after getting 100 to go on to at least 150. Which is nice to like. Important note there because he is a dude who also gets out cheaply a bit in these things. He does chase the ball a bit early on in his innings, looking to hit boundaries. But when he gets in Test cricket, he goes big. So it was sort of like, well, he's proved himself in ODIs. He's proved himself in Tests. It's just like a given that he will prove himself in T20s. And he hasn't actually really done that to like a full extent. I think just having a quick gaze before at some of his numbers, his last year was his best year. 2025 Roux batting pretty much not entirely, but mostly batting at where's the year here? There we go. Batting mostly at number 3, average 30.9, strike rate 150. Like that's excellent stuff. That's what you want from that role. So there's glimpses of it, hasn't shown it yet in 2026. Notable that most of that last year as well is coming under Mitchell Santner's captaincy. That's probably a factor in that. But yeah, only one score over 30 in his last 10 innings. It's like, which was in the second T20 in India. Like I think they've seen enough to where if it comes down to Conway or Ravindra, and there probably really is only room for one of them, it's going to be Ravindra. Like he's done enough to show that that's his spot and that's his role. But it's also like we do need to see more from him. Like we can't act like he's the special dude because he has been that in ODIs, because he has been that in TS, because you got to take the formats at least some degree of separation from one to the next. Otherwise, what's the point of having formats if they're not, if there aren't distinctions between them? And in T20 internationals, he has not excelled to the level that he has in other ones. But maybe last year there were some glimpses of where he's heading and what he can do.
Well, who have I talked about as being the best all format batters for New Zealand?
Daryl Mitchell
and
well, Rachin Ravindra probably.
Exactly.
They're kind of the only two actual all format dudes. Oh, Conway as well.
Yeah, that's true, but I've never ever put Devon Conway in the all format best in New Zealand category. Right. It's always
actually Glenn Phillips also all formats.
Yeah, those are contenders. I've never said anyone else except for Daryl Mitchell and Rachin Ravindra, which was thanks to Rachin Ravindra's work last year in T20 cricket, because he was doing good T20 stuff. The problem is recent, because we've seen Rachin Ravindra go back to Super Smash and not do very well and lose all 3 games with Wellington. So here's a little factoid for you. Rachin Ravindra's lost his last 3 games of T20 cricket with 1 score over 30. That, I appreciate all your context about the journey of Rachin Ravindra and all that stuff. Rachin Ravindra recently, right now, he has lost 6 T20 games in a row without scoring many runs. That's a problem for the T20 World Cup. Because I would expect Rachin Ravindra to help Wellington with runs, and obviously there's so many other factors at play when you're trying to win games of cricket, so it's not necessarily the ideal thing to bring up, but it's just a thing that's happened. And none of that should be happening with Rachin Ravindra at the Super Smash level. But the same things have happened in the past couple of weeks from Super Smash to T20 stuff in India. And that's just a fascinating thing now ahead of the T20 World Cup. Because I had Rachin Ravindra as a T20 first 11 player because he was, at one point, my best all-format batter, and then Daryl Mitchell had a fantastic ODI series, right? Like, it's those two, and Rachin Ravindra was good in T20 cricket last year, like averaging 30 with a strike rate of 150. That's all he needs to do. But that is now flipped in recent times ahead of a major tournament, and it's the Super Smash stuff that concerns me. Because he's not dominating Super Smash. He's not scoring runs, and he doesn't have a strike rate. And his team loses. It's impossible to define a winning and losing cricketer, right? Like other sports you might say, he's a losing player, he's a winning player, he does winning things, he does losing things. Like rugby league, you might not get the ball, but you make winning plays.
Yeah, Steven Adams in the NBA.
Exactly. Those are things that help your team win. I don't know how to do it in cricket, but it's just the most crazy Kiwi cricket thing right now is that Rachin Ravindra's lost 3 T20 games in a row. At a lower level, at a higher level, without scoring runs. Like, none of that, and this is the ultimate point, none of that screams I should be first 11 for this T20 World Cup. There's no comparison between him and Conway because Conway's an opener, Rachin Ravindra's going to bat 2, 3, 4. I think Rachin Ravindra should be the backup opener. How about that? But he's not a wicketkeeper, so they've got Devon Conway in that position. So that opens up a bit of a can of worms, because who are we putting in that Rachin Ravindra space? And I think there's very interesting options, none of whom really bat 3. You're going to put Mitchell Santner number 3 and have a whack.
Oh, that's an even better idea. I was going to say Mark Chapman.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't mind that. I would rather
prefer Santner now. So
I would rather have Chapman higher than lower, because I think there's a bit of all round funk that can open up in the middle order. Let's check Mark Chapman. Batting 3, 22.5, strike rate of 135. That is better-ish than him batting 4. His best position, though, is batting 5, 35 average, strike rate of 146. So either Rachin Ravindra steps up, or we start to explore some other options. And it's just a fascinating situation for someone who I do think is one of our 2 best all-format batters. I don't know, I'm open to Glenn Phillips entering that equation. And it will never be Devon Conway. But it's just now it's all coming together ahead of a T20 World Cup. So just watch out for Rachin Ravindra if you are tapping into this T20 series against India. Here's a little quirky one for you. There are 3 bowlers in the last few months since October 1st who are averaging below 25, who also have strike rates below 15, bowling strike rates below 15, averages below 25. We need to keep moving, so I'm not going to ask you to guess, because you could just roll through all the bowlers. One of them's Jacob Duffy, obviously, because he's awesome. The other 2 are Ish Sodhi and Jimmy Neesham.
Veterans
who no one would think oh yeah, they're our best T20 bowlers. The lowest average is Jimmy Neesham. The lowest strike rate is Jimmy Neesham. 16.6, 11.1. Then you go Jacob Duffy, 21.4, 14.6, Ish Sodhi, 22.9, 13.5. I mean, there's so much weird stuff about Kiwi cricket that we're looking at it, and ahead of the T20 World Cup, our most in-form best bowlers are Jacob Duffy, Ish Sodhi and Jimmy Neesham. It's a weird place to be, but shout out to those dudes, because they're doing their jobs for the team. And then you look at the series, who are the 2 bowlers who have 3 wickets? Ish Sodhi, Jacob Duffy. And of course, we've brought in our legendary T20 bowler, Jimmy Neesham, to return to the squad. And we'll see if Lockie Ferguson can not be injured. Any final Blackcaps thoughts?
Well, I would like to see what they look like with all those, the guys who actually are taking wickets and scoring runs. So is Finn Allen going to pop up before the end of the series? Might be a bit too late after his Big Bash heroics. But he is starting to feel like the guy who could be the X factor at the World Cup. He is tremendously in form, and it just feels like he's been a little bit out of sight, out of mind recently, up until people started realizing what he was doing in the Big Bash, because he hasn't played for the Blackcaps over the summer, at least not that I can remember. But also, clearly is going to be such a pivotal player at the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, it kind of shows New Zealand isn't necessarily thirsty for T20 job cricket, which is fantastic. That just suits me down to the ground. But the Big Bash is one of the best. To me, it's the best T20 tournament in the world, and Finn Allen is part of a dynastic championship team as an opening batter, smashing boundaries, because of course it's not real cricket unless you play on big boundaries, because there's nothing else matters except big boundaries. Just got the drain clearers right outside the window, so that's good stuff. Finn Allen's there, he's doing the job, and it's a very high profile competition, so it's crazy that you said he's out of sight, out of mind, but I do think it's kind of true for Kiwis, because we are cricketing purists in Aotearoa, and also big lovers of the Super Smash, because that is a fantastic competition. Right before a T20 World Cup, our best slugger has just been a tremendous slugger in the best T20 competition in the world. That seems useful. That seems helpful. That's the opposite of Rachin Ravindra and Devon Conway, right? Like, we've got someone, like, these are the flip side scenarios where it's like just before a T20 World Cup, Finn Allen has been playing at a very high level. And again, looking at the series against India, the Blackcaps have not had Tim Seifert and Finn Allen in the same team together. Let alone two of our best T20 bowlers, somewhat ever. If you get deep into Jimmy Neesham's stats, they're not playing in the series, So I am very curious about Finn Allen moving forward and what happens at the T20 World Cup. Because I don't know if it's necessarily automatic that Finn Allen's going to dominate the T20 World Cup.
Well, he didn't last time.
Yes, and I don't necessarily know, given what Rachin Ravindra has done in major tournaments, one-day format, fair play, in and around India, I don't necessarily think it's automatic that Rachin Ravindra is going to suck at the T20 World Cup as well. These are the funky, quirky Blackcaps situations. Let's get a bit of mindfulness.
Yeah. Let's do that. Where's my sheet here? Since we're talking about cricket, and I was watching Blair Tickner in the Super Smash the other day.
Yep.
Thich Nhat Hanh.
Big man.
Nice and simple. Smile, breathe, and go slowly. Unless you're Blair Tickner, aka Thich Nhat Hanh, running into the bowl, you don't need to go too slowly then. You're allowed to speed up there, but make sure you smile and breathe.
Blair Tickner, who is just straight up one of the best bowlers in New Zealand right now. That dude is eating wickets. And it's, again, this is the Blackcaps' depth. No one really thinks of Blair Tickner as an awesome bowler. Not necessarily like a top-tier elite Blackcaps bowler, but everything he has done this summer has been dominant. Here we go. I did tweet this out. Super Smash Championship last summer, 16 wickets averaging 18. T20 Korea, 102 innings averaging 22.1. Wickets across all three formats in his last 10 games. 4, 4, 1, 2, 1, 1, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4. That's Blair Tickner. Thich Nhat Hanh. I appreciate your mindfulness, but I'm going to double down on it. Can you just repeat the exact mindfulness once again?
Smile, breathe, and go slowly.
All of which I think is pertinent in Aotearoa, because unfortunately, Aotearoa has a lot of natural disasters. And we've had one recently, and the mindfulness here is just to have immense gratitude for the fact that you are here. Because on top of all the goofy stuff that humans do to each other, in Aotearoa we have this thing, we have a great connection to Aotearoa. I worship Rangitoto, and it's a volcano. And in the last decade or so, we've had a volcano in New Zealand kill people. That's Aotearoa. I worship a volcano, and we are the land of natural disasters with volcanoes that can kill people. Now, obviously, some volcanoes are extinct and all this stuff in Auckland, I don't know if anything's extinct anymore, because who knows what's going to happen in or any stuff, right? The moa might come back, right? Like all this extinct volcanoes may pop their top. Who knows? And I don't even think Rangitoto necessarily is extinct. I think it's just chilling out for a couple of millennia.
Dormant, yeah.
Yeah. It is a bummer, but we have natural disasters that do kill people, unfortunately. And there's no control over that. You can't control nature. An earthquake will happen, floods will happen, landslides happen, volcanoes erupt. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of Mother Nature, but that also strengthens our connection to Mother Nature, all of which is to say, you're alive. You're here right now, so have some gratitude and lead with that gratitude, because you never know what Mother Nature is going to do next, let alone what all the goofy shit in the world is going to do. So because of recent events and because Aotearoa does have a unfortunate relationship with natural disasters that you have no control over, lead with your gratitude and just try to savor each day, because you're here and other people have unfortunately been victims to Mother Nature and the land of Aotearoa, which is very unfortunate, but again, it reminds us of gratitude and it strengthens our connection with Mother Nature. And my connection to the Super Smash does not need any strengthening, because I'm Mr. Super Smash, and Super Smash finals are here on Friday. Elimination finals, Northern versus Auckland. Women. Auckland versus Canterbury men, which means Wellington and Northern are straight into the finals. I don't really know where to begin. I'll probably make a video on YouTube for the finals. We've had a few Super Smash Scout videos. Obviously, we've got the deep dives on the website touching on all sorts of teams. One of the main things I do have top of my mind, aside from Ben Sears, it's weird that this is the pocket I want to fix on with so much Super Smash action. But there's a dude by the name of Angus Oliver, bowler for Auckland, and he's this dude just keeps impressing me. 12 wickets at 22.5 in the Super Smash, overall RPO of 9, which includes the CD versus Auckland game at the Eden Park Outer Oval, where everyone just got tonked around. And Angus Oliver is averaging 19 in T20 bowling at 22 years old. And if we're talking best suit T20 bowlers, I think Angus Oliver needs to be in the equation. And maybe someone like Angus Oliver is better at bowling in T20s than Christian Clark. That's just the situation. Far less game time, far less experience, but that's my entry point into Super Smash Funk, because Angus Oliver has been awesome and he seems to be bowling pretty quick. And we're going to see 2 Auckland teams play on Friday, so that'll be very interesting. I've just been very impressed with the whole Auckland team, the men's team specifically. Harjot Johal is second for wickets, tied for second, with a better average than Ben Sears. Who's Harjot Johal? Do you know who Harjot Johal is? Because he's just
only from watching Super Smash.
He's just one of the best bowlers in Super Smash, and it's him and Oliver. Just think about that game yesterday versus Central. Auckland bat first. Obviously, they score a pretty par score for Eden Park Outer Oval. CD are batting second. They're chasing runs, which is probably what they wanted to do. Will Young, Dean Foxcroft. Dean Foxcroft, I think, will be a Blackcap cricketer across the formats very soon as well. He's already played some cricket for Aotearoa, but I'm really enjoying his work. Josh Clarkson, Tom Bruce, Dane Cleaver. That's a very powerful batting lineup. Chasing
Tom
runs.
Bruce, who's going to the T20 World Cup now as well with Scotland.
That's another indicator of our Aotearoa cricket depth, is we've got Logan van Beek playing for Netherlands, Tom Bruce playing for Scotland. We're producing international players for other countries, not just New Zealand. This is the CD batting lineup. Top 5, Sam Cassidy, respect to you. You're not in the same class as these other dudes, and he also dropped Colin Munro twice, which wasn't good. Dean Foxcroft, Will Young, Dane Cleaver, Tom Bruce, Josh Clarkson. They lost to an Auckland bowling attack of Rohit Gulati, Angus Oliver, Harjot Johal, Ryan Harrison, Adi Ashok. Adi Ashok is the highest ranked bowler in that group. And he is he's behind Jaden Lennox in the Blackcaps ranks. That is the equivalent of the Blackcaps beating India in India with Christian Clark, Kyle Jamieson, Zach Folks, and Jaden Lennox, and Adi Ashok, who didn't win a game. Rohit Gulati, Angus Oliver, Harjot Johal, Ryan Harrison defended 200. The target was 200. Yeah, there was some rain stuff, but they defended 219 runs against Dean Foxcroft, Will Young, Dane Cleaver, Tom Bruce, and Josh Clarkson. That, to me, sums up the Super Smash, and it's another indicator of Kiwi cricket, because none of those dudes, aside from Ashok, have been close to the Blackcaps. All of them are fairly new in their careers. This is Rohit Gulati's first full season of Super Smash. Angus Oliver has played 3 first-class games and 8 one-day games. Harjot Johal, first season of Super Smash. Ryan Harrison, first full season in all formats for Auckland. They got the job done. That is mental.
And yeah, you said Auckland were in the finals, because that game was sort of to qualify them, wasn't it? To knock CD out and take their top 3 spot. So they've been getting the job done, not just then, but all season.
Yes. And a lot of that was thanks to Bevan Jacobs, right? Because he dominated the first 5 or 6 games in Super Smash. And yeah, Colin Munro is a pretty good replacement for Bevan Jacobs, but who are the dudes who scored runs in that game? Lachlan Stackpole. Lachlan Stackpole, who's 149 runs, a strike rate of 164. Lachlan Stackpole, who's got more 6s than 4s. And I'm not sure, did you see Sam Morgan bat for Wellington?
No. I didn't. He's the dude who scored a couple 50s, in his first 2 innings.
Yes, and he is hitting crazy 6s. 6s where it looks like he's mistimed it and it's going well over the boundary in his first 2 Super Smash games. I think Lachlan Stackpole does that better. Because Lachlan Stackpole just rocks back and creams it long. Steps forward. Obviously, you got to mention the step hit because that's cricket dialect. It's the number 9, number 8, number 10, number 27. What's the number 35 position in football? I don't know. Any type of 6 hitting area, Lachlan Stackpole's going to do it. And he's done it. His Plunkett Shield stuff was awesome as well. He's got heaps of 6s in Plunkett Shield. Lachlan Stackpole, 20 years old. 31 average in first-class games. He's got a century, got a 50. One-day cricket, 26.8. Strike rate of 93. He's got 2 50s. T20 cricket averaging 21 with a strike rate of 150. Rachin, that's all you got to do, bruh. You're a lefty. Just hit some 6s. Because right now, Lachlan Stackpole's got a better T20 record than you, and that's just stats. But we know cricket is much more than stats, because when you watch Lachlan Stackpole smash boundaries, it fills me with joy. with how effortless those boundaries are. Auckland also have Dale Phillips. He's a really good hitter up top. Auckland haven't. Simon Keen's played 2 games. We haven't even seen Jock McKenzie. Right, so that goes back to their bowling attack that defended against CD. Love what they're doing. Obviously, in the men's competition, they're playing against Canterbury. Haven't been very impressed with Canterbury. I think they're quite lucky to be in the finals. Obviously, they got there because CD wasn't really doing much in that. Well, they were doing a lot. Tom Bruce almost hit a century and stuff like that. But not the best campaign for Canterbury, but they've got obviously really good players. Tom Latham, Matt Boyle. So Matt Boyle's just continued. He was the leading run scorer in Super Smash last season, hasn't been dominant this season, but he's continued. 196 runs, average 28, strike rate of 162. That's just him continuing his good form. And of course, Canterbury have Lockie Harper, who seems to, it'll be interesting to see how Canterbury line up in that finals game, but maybe Lachlan Harper has overtaken Cameron Paul in their Super Smash team. That'll be interesting to watch out for, because like Michael Ray came back and I think Cameron Paul dropped out of their first 11 for their most recent game. But Lachlan Harper kept his spot, 7 wickets, averaging 23, and Mr. Harper, 86 runs, strike rate of 143, 4 fours, 7 sixes. Who is Lachlan Harper? Does he have a proper Crick Info page yet? No. He's just LLB Harper. I'm going to call him Pounds Harper because he's got the LBs. Who is Lachlan Harper? You know, like, who are these guys that are just really good cricketers in Aotearoa? And obviously, men's side, we've still got Northern Brave, who I still think are my favourite team in Super Smash because their batters just go crazy. Cartonet Clark, Rob O'Donnell's a legend. Brett Hampton smashes boundaries, and their bowling. Pringle, lefty spinner, Scott Kurgline, Matt Fisher, and so on. Watch out for Zach Gibson, because Zach Gibson's a really good bowler for ND as well. Women's Super Smash, Wellington Blaze are straight into the final. Chance for their dynasty to continue. And if they continue, this is crazy. If Wellington Blaze continue their Super Smash dynasty without Sophie Devine or Amelia Kerr, I don't know the logistics of T20 jobs around the world and whether they will be available, but like, just think about that. Because everyone thinks, oh, Wellington Blaze, T20 dynasty, it's Sophie Devine, it's Amelia Kerr. I'm pretty sure some of their recent Super Smash championships have featured minimal Sophie Devine and maybe a bit of Amelia Kerr. If they win the Super Smash without either of them in finals, in the grand final, that would be super impressive. They will play either Northern Brave or Auckland Hearts. Shout out to the Auckland Hearts, because that win against CD on Sunday was very impressive, and that was like a very impressive batting performance from Izzy Gaze. She hit 59 runs, strike rate of 151 to seal the game. That was impressive, and I am still open to the possibility of Izzy Gaze and Polly Ingalls being in the same White Ferns team, because I just think, like, Izzy Gaze, she's one of the best hitters in New Zealand, and Polly Ingalls is the best wicketkeeper, so why not have them both in the same team? But Auckland also have like really good bowlers, obviously the seamers, Molly Penfold, Josie Penfold, Amy Huckabee Illing, and their main spinner is Bella Armstrong, who I think she's basically started bowling spin this season. And she's already got 10 wickets, averaging 17.9, former seamer, current spinner. Shows you what you can do if you just bowl a bit of spin, as we've seen in many Kiwi cricketers. Yeah, you got your Brooke Hallidays, your Maddie Greens, very good. And Northern Brave, I'm a fan of both Northern teams. Northern Brave have 50s to Caitlin Gurry, Natasha Wakeland, Nancy Patel, Jess Watkin, Eve Walland. They've all hit a 50. 5 different players. I think that's their top 5. Kaylee Knight's an excellent cricketer. Marama Downs. Like the Northern bowling attack, is it going to be Northern versus Auckland? It is. 2 bowling units right there. Because the Northern bowling unit, Marama Downs, Kaylee Knight is awesome. Lucy Boucher probably won't play. She's dropped out of their first 11, but Sky Bowden has come in, and Sky Bowden helped Northern defeat Auckland in their most recent game, an epic at Eden Park Outer Oval. So that was great to see as well. It's going to be another. I'm glad we can kind of have a chill because there's only like 2 days during the past month where there's no Super Smash cricket, which is fantastic. Now we've got a couple of days off, and Northern Brave versus Auckland, they literally just played an epic game a few days ago. Bang, love it. Auckland versus Canterbury in the men's elimination final. 2 very funky teams. Auckland, younger bowling attack, or a lot of fascinating, it's the mix. You got a fascinating youngsters, but you got some legendary cricketers as well. And then the teams who are already in the finals, Wellington Blaze, can they continue their dynasty? And Northern Brave are, they're the closest thing to a men's dynasty because they won a lot of Super Smash championships over the past decade. Like going back to the winning and losing stuff, like Cartony Clark has won Super Smash championships already. And I'm pretty sure he's won multiple. But the dude I was thinking about with this was Henry Cooper. Because Henry Cooper's like, he's in the Northern team. He's probably going to play the grand final. And he doesn't bat. But he's always in the team. And Henry Cooper, you might look at his stats and be like, yeah, he's all right. Nothing major. Henry Cooper wins. He's a Plunker Shield champion. He's played in Super Smash championships. He wins stuff without actually really dominating games of cricket. Like, he scores a lot of runs in Plunker Shield, but he was someone who came to mind when I was thinking about the winning and losing stuff, because I like let me check. Henry Cooper. I got to type it out. Because he's playing for Northern, but he's not batting. He hasn't batted in his last 4 games. He hasn't batted in the Super Smash. Let me alter that. So he's not playing every game, and he doesn't bat when he does play. But he's there. And for anyone wondering, Henry Cooper in Plunket Shield, his scores were 4, 63, 43, 206 not out, 60, 45, 88. Don't know why that's important, but shout out Henry Cooper. I sees ya. And I also sees ya Elijah Just.
Got to see Elijah Just. Got to be peeking on those Elijah Just highlights, because almost every week there's something at the moment. He's like, I think it's 3 games in a row he's got a goal contribution, couple assists in the previous 2 games, scored on the weekend against Kilmarnock. First goal in what ended up being a 4-0 victory, which is their biggest win of the season. Motherwell sitting 4th. Would be higher because they almost never lose, and they've only conceded 2 goals in their last 11 games. Would be higher, except they have drawn a lot of games along the way. So they have had like troubles in terms of like converting their very good positional play and very good defensive play into goals. But the guy who's the best at that, like the guy who picks the lock for them, the guy who gives them that difference, links up to their strikers from midfield to attack, is Elijah Just. He does it with his dribbling. He does it with his passing. He does it with little, bursts off the ball, with his pressing out of possession. Like, he's definitely part of that machine that's keeping so many clean sheets, because he's one of the guys who leads that defense from the attack with how well he anticipates and how intelligent he is with that stuff. There's when they beat Celtic like a month ago, one of their goals specifically came from Elijah Just pressing on a bad pass out from the goalkeeper to force a turnover. Um, he's he's just in sensational touch at the moment. He is probably the All Whites player who has been in the best form over the last couple months, certainly since Joe Bell's season finished. In November-ish, like Elijah Just in that time since has been spectacular. Callum McCallum also in good touch over in Denmark, but probably not to the extent of like McCallum's very good at getting on the end of things. Elijah Just is trading them and getting on the end of them for Motherwell. And I feel like he's a player who, in all white circles, maybe has been a little bit underrated. Like I think he's a year younger than Callum McCallum, but those two played in all the same teams coming up. And McCallum was the one who scored a lot of goals and Just was setting them up, but maybe getting slept on a little bit. Every coach he's played for seems to love him, and you can see why, because he is one of those link players who makes everyone better around him. And maybe in an all white scene, that's been something where it's like the players he's helping make better around him get the buzz. And obviously, if Chris Wood's playing, Chris Wood gets the buzz as well. Elijah Just really only in the last 12 to 18 months has started to grab a bit of that glory for himself in an all whites context. And I think at this point, he probably deserves to be in that conversation of one of the team's most important players. 5, maybe 6 months out from a World Cup, a pretty handy time to be coming into career best form.
A World Cup we might need to boycott.
Well, I can't remember. I just can't remember where our games are. Hopefully we can move them just to Canada and Mexico, because that part of the World Cup is all right. The bit in the middle is conversations to be had.
Shout out to Homebrew. One of their lyrics was, "I was on top of shit like Canada." What position does Elijah Just play the most for Motherwell?
In his case, it's actually difficult to answer because he's a very like fluid player who drifts around and finds different ways to get involved. In general, let's say attacking midfielder, but sometimes that's through the middle, sometimes that's out on the right, sometimes out on the left. Like he's genuinely popped up and been like effective and productive in any of those different variations, but attacking midfielder in general.
Is that his likeliest role for the All Whites?
I think his likeliest role for the All Whites would be yes, but on the right side specifically, because Sarpreet Singh has come in and played Sarpreet Singh, believe it or not, has actually played the most consecutive All Whites games. Like he's got the most consecutive starts out of any current All Whites player right now, current active streak sort of thing, which no one would think of Sarpreet Singh, like the dude who always seems to be injured, but actually he's appeared in more consecutive games than anyone else at the moment. And almost always as the central attacking midfielder. Now you could, like Singh plays on the right wing a lot for his club. He could do that. He is in a little bit of a tricky spot because he moved to TSC in Serbia to link up with Dario Kalazic, his former Wellington Phoenix coach. But of course, that went about as well as it did at the Wellington Phoenix, and Kalazic got sacked a couple months ago. And since they've brought in a replacement, Singh's minutes dropped like drastically. But there were only a few games where that was the case, and then there was a winter break, and then you get a bunch of training stuff and they've played like 3 friendlies over the last week, and he actually scored in a start in the most recent one of those. So he's hopefully doing his bit over the winter break to win that trust with the new coach and get his prevalence back where it was. But he's a key player for the All Whites, a key established player for the All Whites. Elijah Just is as well. And the cool thing about those two is you can pretty easily slip them both into the same starting lineup. They do very similar jobs, but like they can both do those jobs through the middle or out wide on the right. And then you've got the left wing for Callum McCallum, Matt Garbutt, Ben Old to go scrapping over and figure out what's going to happen there. And whoever misses out, well, there's your bench impact players.
But ultimately, Elijah Just can, as long as he's on the field, he can get into different spaces and flow through the All Whites formation, which is exactly what he did for that goal. Just nice Elijah Just use of space. Let's get into some more football with the A-League. And obviously the best thing about the A-League this weekend was the Wellington Phoenix going up to second on the A-League ladder. And for anyone...
They jumped from 9th to 2nd with 1 win. Wild competition.
For anyone who thinks that it's all about attack or defense wins championships, as we always see in sporting competitions, and we'll get into this soon. We'll just roll through these A-League teams pretty quickly. Auckland FC, there's a pretty decent case that they still are one of the best defensive teams in the A-League, and they're top of the table. The Wellington Phoenix Women, though, it's undeniable that they have an elite defense. 9 goals conceded in 11 games. I don't think they're a better team than Melbourne City, but Melbourne City have conceded 11 goals. Well, here goes. Wellington Phoenix Women have actually scored more goals than Melbourne City and conceded less goals than Melbourne City, so that's a nice indication.
Have they played the same games? Because City missed a lot of games at the start.
Yes, they've both played 11 games. Hey, so there you go. But again, it's the Wellington Phoenix, like the way they play football is just so much fun. They're going to bully the opposition. They are so physical, and the blocks, the tackles, the turnovers, the 50-50 balls, all that stuff is still there without CJ Bott, right? Like, she's going to be out for the season due to pregnancy, and I think that makes a lot more sense with the signing of Emma Pynenberg. I think that stuff might have been in motion behind the scenes a while ago. If you're signing Emma Pynenberg at the same time that CJ Bott is starting to understand that she might be out for the rest of the season, I think that overlapped nicely. But the Phoenix...
They did also lose Tess Almedag as well, who was going to be who's going to do the same job in midfield. So, yeah, they needed some midfielders one way or another.
But we've also had on top of Pia Vlock being awesome with and without the footy, I'm always impressed by Benson when she comes off the bench. Emma Main didn't play in this game and they still scored 3 goals. All that stuff is awesome, but I think the best thing most recently for the Phoenix is that new players come into the team and they're doing the job. They're part of the culture. They fit in, which tells you a lot about the players they are signing, but also about the environment that Bev Priestman has created at the Wellington Phoenix Women setup at Jerry Collins Stadium specifically, where new players come in and they are playing to the best of their ability. And Michaela Woods, the striker who came in for Samba, you would assume that's a big drop-off. Samba's out, season over for the Wellington Phoenix Women type of stuff, because that's how everyone reacts to good players being injured. Just ask the Warriors last year or the year before when everyone said, Warriors are going to suck because this player got injured, and guess what? The Warriors just made the finals once again. Slow down, Thich Nhat Hanh.
Smile, breathe, go slowly.
But the Wellington Phoenix just bring in new players and they slot in. They find the groove, and I think Michaela Woods is actually added to the Phoenix because she's so physical. She's going to do all the striker stuff. If she sees someone running forward with the ball out wide, she needs to be running forward in the middle. That's what she does. That's how she scored a goal on the weekend. But she's also physical. She's going to be making tackles. She's going to be pushing people around. And that is the best thing about the Wellington Phoenix Women playing football of the soccer variety, is how confident they are, how physical they are, and how dominant they are against these other A-League teams. Maybe not so much Melbourne City, but if they kept saying how good Adelaide United were, and I was they're not as good as the Phoenix. They're not in that class, because that's how good the Wellington Phoenix Women are, and everything about what the Wellington Phoenix Women are doing is sensational. I don't actually want to talk about the Phoenix men because I don't know what else I can say that we haven't already said with how inconsistent they are. This was, I think they had a 3-1 loss maybe on the weekend.
Yeah, which was did they get a goal to the new Norwegian fella, came off the bench and scored. But that just keeps up Newcastle Jets smoking New Zealand teams every time they play them.
But it keeps up the Wellington Phoenix being good one week and shit the next week, winning, impressive, and then conceding 2-3 goals. They're not a good defensive team. They have good defensive moments, but they are not a good defensive team, and they are an inconsistent team, which is to say all Wellington Phoenix focus should be on the women. The shine should be with the women. The Wellington Phoenix Women are one of the most fun, entertaining, coolest teams in Aotearoa sport right now. That includes Jerry Collins Stadium. It includes Porirua. And obviously, it is driven by Bev Priestman, but also some really interesting Kiwi players, Mackenzie Barry, the captain, the centre-back. And then you go into the two youngsters, Pia Vlock and Benson, who always seem to impress when they're getting busy on the football field.
And there are other, no one quite as young as Pia Vlock, but there are other youngsters hanging around too. Like we saw a Lily Brazendale debut earlier in the season. I think that's the only squad she's made. But Grace Bartlett, without getting onto the pitch recently, she did get, she get a debut about a month ago. But without getting on the pitch recently, she's been on most benches. I've been relieved to see like the players who are at the game, but in their tracksuits, not actually kitted up to play, but around the thing. And you see them running on afterwards to celebrate with everyone. Been relieved to see a bit of Ella Jerez there as well, because I've been wondering what happened to her, because she seems to have disappeared a bit, but she is at least still hanging around that first team, hopefully training with them if she's not injured.
She is learning how to push people off the ball.
Yeah, and she does that well at a National League level. There is a step up in the A-League, and we did see that from her last year when she would play and, give away a few too many fouls or things like this, where it's like...
She's learning how to do it in the Bev Priestman fashion, because as I said last week, Bev Priestman does winning things. And yes, you could have done it at the A-League level for the Phoenix last season, but there was no physicality.
Well, it was the wrong physicality. If you're just like, that's the thing I remember of her is like shoving players over and getting a yellow card or sort of thing, which is good intent, but the big physical players who dominate these types of games aren't conceding fouls every time you go into a tackle. You're just winning the ball and being stronger than the other player and things like that. So yeah, that's the way you put it there, she's learning how to do that for Bev Priestman, which is learning how to do that at a professional level. You can do it against amateurs and players that you're more skilled against, but can you do that when you're the same skill level against others? And Ella Jerez is like 18 years old. She's super young and will be a very good player for the Wellington Phoenix if she continues. I hope she gets opportunities this year, because I think she's good enough to do something. But yeah, the fact she's not playing is also... I think there have been injury things as well there.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about that with the physicality stuff. Well, we talked
physicality stuff, sure. Yeah.
To me, I was all the Macy Fraser stuff is the same for Ella Jerez. It's just the physicality, the training. So I think we spend a lot of time talking about players who aren't playing for the Wellington Phoenix.
Yeah, well, we had that conversation last week. I don't think that applies to Macy Fraser so much. I think hers is a different situation. But I'll tell you who it does apply to, someone who seems to be playing a lot at the moment. Another one of the Phoenix youngsters is Daisy Brazendale, who is getting, where are we? She has played at least 10 minutes in every single game this season except for one. She was on the bench when they lost to Melbourne City the first time. Only one start, but a lot of extended substitute appearances there. And she is a midfielder whose best trait is that she works very hard to win the ball back. She is certainly for National League level, for under 20 stuff, she's a very strong physical midfielder. For A-League level, there's a step up that's required. That's what we're talking about. But she's doing obviously enough of that to hang around in every match day squad and to get decent little chunks there. And I think that's probably the thing that Emma Pleinenberg doesn't do so much, is she's quite small. And perhaps that's why I don't think she's even played an hour yet. She seems to Emma Pleinenberg's minutes in her 5 games: 37 minutes off the bench, 52 as a starter, 36 off the bench, 56 and 55 as starters. So she hasn't played an hour of a game yet. Some of that is ramping her up, but she did come straight from season in Netherlands to in season in A-League. So she was fit enough in that way. But I think that's part of it as well, as there is elements of her game that doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the team. But there's also something that she does better than everyone else in their midfield, which is how good she is as a passer, which is why she has to also continue to get good minutes and has been getting good minutes. She's offered quite a nice balance, I think, and a counterpoint to this sort of strong physical midfield. But the Bev Priestman stuff obviously goes beyond just being strong and out there trying to bully things. It's the thing you said there about winning football. It's a very experienced team that they got this year, and what is for the most part, like most A-League women's teams are very young, and it is seen as a sort of development league. And the Phoenix decided to come onto that scene, trying to compete for the younger squad with all these other teams. Whereas this year they've gone and signed players who are older, who have professional experience. Even the imports, right? The American imports you're getting, not coming straight out of college. Michaela Woods has had a season playing professionally in Iceland. Actually, she played against Betsy Hassett. Mackenzie Anthony, the new signing, who we saw a little bit of off the bench in the most recent game on Cebu, she's coming in from a season in Ireland. Like, those aren't particularly... those aren't world-beating leagues or anything like that, but those are players who have come out of the college system and had a previous experience of what it is to be a professional footballer and what it is to train every day, and this is your job, and et cetera, et cetera. You might also have to have another job, but this is the focus. And I think that makes a difference in terms of getting players able to turn up and do what Michaela Woods has done, which is score or assist a goal in all 3 of her appearances so far. I don't even think she looks... I haven't even thought she looks that good in terms of how she fits into the team, but she's popping up in big moments. And I think that's also, that's sort of what Samba did anyway. Samba would have more moments because she was such a volume player and trying to get in and shooting and running at defenders all the time. But ultimately, it's the same kind of thing. It's like you can either fade out of the game, but pop up for 3 or 4 key important things, as long as you're working hard and hitting certain baselines, particularly off the ball, you're pressing and whatever. You just have 3 or 4 little moments as a striker throughout the game, whereas Samba would maybe have 6 or 7, but it's like, as long as 2 or 3 of those are like good, genuine goal-scoring opportunities, she's doing her job. And Michaela Woods, I think, has done that far beyond what I thought she was going to do when she turned up. Like, that's fantastic. It's helping them win games. It's helping them score goals. It's also a sign of that Bev Priestman thing. It's like, this is a player who can come in and be great straight away, or effective straight away.
Bev Priestman loves her subs, so I don't think there's going to be many players who are full 90-minute players. That goes back to the Emma Pleinenberg thing, where I think she wants her subs to come on and impact the game. And if you're winning, you can start to get the players in more development spots. So that might be like, if the Wellington Phoenix are cruising, then you might start to see Ella Herrera's types. But she talks a lot about like finishes, which is the old rugby thing. Like, when there was something unique about New Zealand rugby, the subs rolled on at 60 minutes. And you see like even some like first 15 team lists, how they were starters and finishers, and they love to deliver it that way. Bev Priestman wants her subs to make an impact, and she will use her subs. So like the minute stuff just seems to fit into that. Obviously, there are situations where you're settling into the league, you're a new signing and stuff like that, but I don't necessarily think there's going to be heaps of 90-minute players in that team, because
the back 3 and Grace Charlet, and obviously Beck Hessen. Basically, that's it. Everyone else is,
is the minority. Maybe 50-50 if you include the goalie, because she's not coming off. But she wants to use her subs. And another player you didn't mention was Mania Elliott, who I think she's playing the best footy of her career. And again, the young players, the young Kiwis who are getting game time are physical. They are robust. And they are willing to rip in. And I don't think that is a accident. And Bev Priestman, she's getting the best out of the new players. She's getting best out of the best Kiwi players. But she's also getting the best out of the younger Kiwi players. Brazendale, Wall, is she's still in the mix, right? Wall?
Lara Wall's a little bit older.
No, but she's getting game time, like she's playing.
Well, yeah, she's the one who's alternating with Mania Elliott, basically. They're kind of playing half a game each at the moment.
But she's not CJ Bott. Like, she is... Lara Wall is just a Phoenix player, right? Like, she hasn't played overseas.
No.
So
and only recently made a Football Ferns debut as well.
Exactly.
In the last few months.
Bev Priestman's getting the best out of her. She's getting the best out of Emma Main. This is the best footy she's played. Bev Priestman, her record, her pedigree, well, not pedigree, but what she's doing is so clear. And I don't really have any faults with that, given how those young players are performing, as well as international players who are professionals. So that's good stuff. Love the Wellington Phoenix Women. Love what they're doing. And think back, like start of the season, there are a few people, especially Australian A-League people or Kiwi mainstream media, like there's no goals. They're not scoring goals. They laid the foundations for the best defense in the A-League. So they weren't scoring goals, but they had foundation pieces to an elite defense. And now you're seeing that when you've got an elite defense and you start to find your chemistry, your cohesion, combinations, and players are playing to the best of their ability, the goals just flow. Like you don't need, like Michaela Wood, her finish wasn't like, oh, that's world-class finishing.
She shanked it off her shin.
Exactly, but it goes in the goal because you're there and you got some confidence, you got some juice behind you.
Yeah, 3 goals scored in their first 5 games, 18 goals in their last 6 games.
Beauty. I also love your passionate defense of Auckland FC. Last week,
defense. It was.
Well, you said in our newsletter that they're basically doing the same stuff they did last season, specifically this time of year with the results they're having. And we're following on from the defense being quite similar as far as goals conceded goes. Then we come into this game against, who are they playing? Newcastle, no, not Newcastle, Central Coast.
Central Coast. And
our man, Michael Vowd, has a shocker, which, was a devastating blow to my football ego. But this is the thing about Auckland FC. It was a draw, right? It was a draw. And guess what? Auckland FC still top of the table. They got 3 losses. Every single A-League team has more than 4 losses. And there's only one team with 4 losses. Every other team has at least 5 losses. And Auckland FC are top of the table with 3 losses. The game against Central Coast felt like such a bummer, and it was a draw. Those are the standards we're operating here with Auckland FC, and like it just, the worst result, like this is why Auckland FC, when they lose, it's like kind of shocking, because when they play badly, it's a draw. And because I was thinking like, okay, because this was a bit of a Temple Mount Smart situation where when you're at a temple and you're in a place of worship, you're getting humbled, right? So when we're watching the Warriors, you need to know the Temple of Mount Smart will humble you, and not in a sense of we just won, I am so humbled for this award.
Yeah.
No, the Temple of Mount Smart humbles you. It puts you in your place. It reminds you that you're a piece of poo. That's what happened here. Like, Auckland FC cruising along, and then Michael Val just drops the ball. And it's like, what? The Temple of Mount Smart humbled you, but for the Warriors last year especially, there was that loss against the Dolphins, right? And it's like those moments of humbling at the Temple of Mount Smart for the Warriors, obviously draws are few and far between in rugby league, so this is just some goofy thing that I've just made up right now. Those moments for the Warriors are losses, where some of these moments for the Auckland FC are draws. And once again, they're first. So they had a draw, and Michael Veld had his worst moment at Auckland FC, and it was a draw, and they're still first. And surely, for my own sanity, they're not just going to put Ollie Sail in the goal. Like, that can't happen. That can't happen. Michael Veld, it's up to you. It's up to you, bruh. You got to train hard this week. You got to show Steve Corica, and like, these teams love their goalkeeper coaches. Like, goalkeeper coaches doing interviews. Goalkeeper coaches are up off the seats, barking out all sorts of orders. Like, bruh, you're the goalkeeper coach. Chill out. Maybe just coach your goalkeeper not to drop the ball. That goes for Auckland FC and Wellington Phoenix. They both love their goalkeeper coaches, which must just be another one of these football things that I don't understand. Because, you're
at least Auckland FC have Jonathan Gould as their goalkeeping coach, so they've got one of the best in the business. I don't actually know who the dude is for the Phoenix, because the goalkeeping coach pops up and he's got like a half South African, half Australian accent. I don't know who that guy is.
So Mr. Gould, he's a legendary goalkeeper coach who coaches his players to drop the ball. And he's the dude. He's the dude off his seat.
Big week for him as well.
He's the dude off his seat. He's the dude marching up and down the sidelines doing the warm-ups. Like, you're the goalkeeper coach, but you seem to do a lot of other stuff aside from goalkeeper coaching. Maybe this week, focus on your goalkeeper coaching. Focus on getting the best out of Michael Veld. Go back to Michael Veld. Big week for you, because you need to train the house down to demand selection again, and you need to play well this weekend, because I need you there, right? I need you in the team playing well, because this is the thing about being humbled. I don't want to be humbled. I don't want to adjust to Ollie Sail as my goalkeeper. I want you, Michael Veld, to play your best footy. Please. The fact that we are well aware of the Auckland FC goalkeeper coach, that's a problem.
Well, less so for that dude. Like, Jonathan Gould has played very high level professionally. He's been around the all-white scene as well. Who's
the Blackcaps wicket-keeping coach?
Do they have one?
Exactly. We don't know. Just stay behind the scenes, bruh. Just chill out and do your job, because right now your job it's not looking like you're a great goalkeeper coach.
Is it, or did Michael Val just have one bad moment?
He had one bad moment, and it was in a draw, and they're still top of the table, right? Like, this is fandom. This is me entering the murky waters of fandom, right? Like, we're trying to be neutral, we're trying to be fans, and it's just something about this situation turns me into the fan. Mainly because I've defended Michael Veld stoutly, and there's been a bit of niggle against Michael Veld. Like, some fans don't seem to think he's that good. Some media people still talk about Ollie Sail like we've gone over this over and over again every week. Ollie Sail, All Whites goalkeeper, where he's the second goalkeeper behind Michael Veld at Auckland FC. I've built that up in my head. And then he lets me down. It makes me sad.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the most visible, like, who's Danny Hayes there? I see more of the goalkeeper coach than I see Danny Hay.
Because he might be a better coach than Danny Hay. Just put that
He's
bit
the
in
goalkeeper
brackets. I don't want to
coach.
say that too loudly.
It's like
He's an
saying
overqualified goalkeeper coach.
it's like saying Kruger Van Wyk, the Blackcaps wicketkeeper coach, which he isn't. Just an obscure wicketkeeper I thought of.
Good
He's
name to pull out of the hat, though.
he's a better coach than Craig McMillan, our batting guru. Which may be true.
Well, Craig McMillan coached the White Ferns to a all of a sudden winning a T20 World Cup with partly through his influence, and Danny Hay coached the All Whites to lose 1-0 to Costa Rica in a must-win game to qualify for / not qualify for the last World Cup. So, and then also tried to kick up a big media defense of himself about why he shouldn't have to reapply for the job when he failed at his one target of getting the All Whites to the last World Cup.
Okay, but here we are talking about who's a better
had to
coach.
humble himself at Mount Smart to end up as an assistant coach rather than a head coach, coming from
Like, I'm sorry for hijacking us here to break down whether the assistant coach is better than the goalkeeper coach. Like, that's a weird
assistant coach is better. Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't want to go too many thoughts on Michael Vowd because it just seems like a big, just a cluster of a conversation of a lot of, and the reason that is because it seems like a lot of people just thought Michael Vowd was bad to begin with. Like, they just had a preconceived notion this guy is a bad goalkeeper, and then when 13 games into the season, he makes a mistake that leads to a goal, a horrendous all-timer, shocking mistake, which threw the ball over his own shoulder, like the kind of thing that should never ever happen. Yes, I accept that. It was horrific, and it cost them 2 valuable points. It's the only time he's done that all season, and you can't be like, I thought this confirms it. I knew he was rubbish from the start. I was convinced of it, and now 4 months later, he's made a mistake that proves what I thought all along. So what about the other games? What about the fact that they're only conceding a goal per game? Roughly, slightly more than that after conceding 2 against Central Coast. Horrific stuff. It's just
still bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm being facetious about being like 2 goals conceded as a crisis, but also, yeah, of course, they should have won that game. They should have won by a lot. And it's not just Michael Vowd, it's also the amount of chances they did not make the best of up front. In fact, arguably, Vowd's mistake should have been to make it 4-1. They should have been long out of sight by then. And I think that's a much more significant thing in terms of Auckland FC's title hopes. But I do want to say, just to at least be the one person in the world who's putting some kind of like defense behind Michael Vowd, I want to at least put a my flag in the sand there and say, like, he's always made occasional bad mistakes. I'm not surprised by he did that. I've seen him do that in Netherlands. I've seen him do that. I think there was a game at the Olympics against Honduras, which I'm sure is what most people have decided that's the reason they hate Michael Vowd. They saw him have one bad game 3 years ago, right? One bad game every 3 years is all right. It's not a bad rate for a goalkeeper. And I think, to your point, it's way less about how bad was he last week and much more about how do you respond to that next week. Because right now, I think if they dropped him for Ollie Sal next week, that is not only unfair, but also I think that would just be bad coaching, bad man management, bad sort of team. And I don't think Auckland FC operate like that. The fact Vowd got the job in the first place is an example of a certain amount of loyalty they felt for him for coming in wanting to compete for number 1 and then being stuck behind Alex Paulson when he turned up afterwards. Didn't play at all last season, on the bench every game. I think there's a certain amount of loyalty they felt for that, and so he's been rewarded for that. I think if you dump him at the first mistake, that's terrible. If he keeps making mistakes, yes, of course you have to at that point. But yeah, big week for him, like you say, to see what he does next week, because it's the response to the mistake that is way more indicative of the ability and the mentality of the goalkeeper than it is the mistake he made last week.
You had, you said, like, the case of defence behind Michael Veld. I think he needs some defence in front of Michael Veld, because the Auckland FC, their defence is good, but I do want to make sure we double down on like the attacking stuff, because like I'll say the same thing, brah, can you score a goal? Can someone finish your chances? Because Sam Cosgrove will finish a quarter of his chances. Jesse Randall's nice, but he's not necessarily. I think everything.
He's not much more clinical than Randall.
Randall's not more.
Admittedly,
clinical than
Randall's
Cosgrove.
not much more clinical than Cosgrove. Admittedly, Randall's shots coming from further out. Cosgrove is missing from 6 yards, but in terms of chances, very similar.
Randall's doing everything else, right? So it's just that kind of goal-scoring polish. We know Mize. He still underwhelms me. Their most potent weapon is Lockie Brook. But the issue, because the first goal, Auckland FC were charging upfield and Francis de Vries is almost in the box. And then their defense is out of shape. I don't know what Gerwood Wright's doing. He was out of position.
They played a weird thing where it was like without the ball, they just had the normal back four, but De Vries would push up, but Gerwood Wright didn't, so they sort of just sat with three, which I don't think helped at all. It was a weird tweak that,
They
just picked Callan Elliott.
Yeah, that's a different, Callan Elliott should be playing ahead of Gerwood Wright every time. I haven't been that impressed by the Gerwood Wright, the Aussie, but their defense was out of shape. Their defense was broken down. And they were chasing back. And Francis de Vries is out of the equation because he's so far afield. But Dan Hall's chasing back. Nando's chasing back. Those are the areas that we have seen Auckland FC get in across both seasons. Because some of the goals they conceded in the finals last season, defenses are just asleep. Defenders are just asleep. The ball just bounces around, pops out, and then it's like, what are we doing? And these are awesome players. It's Hall, it's Pinecker. In many cases, it's Sakai, it's De Vries, but there are instances where the defense is just drawn into all out of shape action, and then you're putting players like 101 with Michael Veld or a defender. There's another thing with Veld, which he doesn't seem to come out very often, right?
No, he doesn't.
And I think that is it's either he's so in his head that he doesn't know what to do, which isn't the case. I think he is told to stay back, because what does Dan Hall do well? He chases, he blocks, right? Nando Pinecker is going to do the same thing. So I think, because there was the goal the other week where Michael Veld could have come out. He could have just picked up the ball on the edge of the box, but he doesn't. And I've seen a few cases there where even a casual football fan like me, you expect the goalkeeper to get the ball. I'm pretty confident McCarron, even with the high line stuff for the Phoenix, McCarron, I feel confident that he's always going to come out to get the ball closer to the edge of the box. Michael Veld doesn't do that, but it's one of those things where I think, because when you're watching sports, you're NRL, you're thinking, why did the winger do that? Why did the winger try to tackle Casper instead of tackling Addo-Carr? One's a ghost, one's a human, right? But the coach tells you what to do. The coach says, in this case, you need to do this. And I think that is what might be happening with Michael Veld when he stays back. And I think that's because of how good the defenders are, even though they seem to have a few lapses every now and again. And I think that's because they know Dan Hall's really fast and he's athletic. And our defenders are going to be in the right positions. But there have been times where the defenders are not in the right position. Because Dan Hall had a block in that game against the Mariners. And the block was right in front of Michael Veld. That's where I thought this might be a strategy, rather than Michael Veld just tripping out and not moving forward.
Well, yeah, it is. It's got to be. There was one in the FFA, the what do you call it, the Australia Cup, and during preseason where he did rush out of his box in the game that they lost, and he got beaten, and it looked really bad, and it was sort of a bad mistake from him. But which is why I think it's not just he is overcompensating. Obviously, his goalkeeper coach, who we've talked a lot about today, is thinking about these things too, and is saying like, look, just play to your strengths. Your strengths is sitting back. You've got a big frame. You're a good shot stopper, decent reaction sort of thing. Usually, you hold on to the ball, not every time, but usually. Hang back and do make those sort of reaction stays. You've got a defender in Dan Hall who has really good recovery pace, as does De Vries, as does Sakai. A little bit less so Nando, but he's sort of the big bruiser who wins the first ball. It's just playing to his strength that way. And so obviously, he still should have come out for the the Melbourne City goal. Like that is a mistake on him, but. Of course it's strategic to play him deeper with a deeper line in front of him. It's just everyone's playing to their strengths in that way, which is what you're supposed to be doing.
Which is the opposite of the Phoenix. If the Phoenix are playing on a high line, McCarron has to come out.
Keeper who comes out, which we saw Oluwayemi make that adjustment through the first month.
I need to remind myself that Auckland FC are first. And
so do a lot of people, I think.
It's just, credit to them. That's the standard they've set. And it's, I don't know. It felt like a shocker. And they're still first. And they don't lose games. And literally the Wellington Phoenix men's team would love for 2 seasons like Auckland FC. Like, I don't even know if they've had 1 season like Auckland FC. Have they?
The Finn Sermon, Alex Paulson, Ben Old season was their best league finish. They got knocked out at the same stage that Auckland FC did last year, semi-finals, and they finished, I think, 3rd on the table. So that's their best.
And Auckland FC, Auckland FC have 2 seasons, 1.5 seasons as the best team first. Not winning the championship, but first on the ladder, 1.5 seasons. Do you have any Wellington Phoenix thoughts? Because if you get me fired up, I'll take you down a similar road we went down with Auckland FC. So I'll let you, if you do have some insights, observations, let me know.
Not really. It's one of those ones where it's like, I think the conversation we'd have after a down game, they're going up and down and up and down and up and down. It's like a bit of a roller coaster season. I think the conversation we'd have after a downswing is maybe not the conversation we want to have about the Wellington Phoenix. We might have to let them cool off and see if they can do a Michael Veld next week. And Michael Veld hasn't done it yet, so we have to see if Michael Veld can do a Michael Veld first, but also if the Phoenix can, find themselves a bounce back. Because I do think these Newcastle Jets games are freaky ones for they have been for the Phoenix and for Auckland, and they're very different styles of teams, but for whatever reason that way of Newcastle's style just seems to match up so well against both of them. You can see why they tear the Phoenix up, because they love to run in behind, early releases, lots of movement up front. There's room to do that against the Phoenix, because even Auckland themselves capitalized very well on doing that stuff against the Phoenix, particularly in the first derby. I'm less sure how they managed to do it against Auckland FC a couple of times this year, but they did. And I think that what does that make them, 4 out of 4 against them? So it's almost like when the Phoenix women play Melbourne City. It's like, if you can get something out of this game, that's cool, but like, this is not a good matchup for you. So I can't make like sweeping seasonal judgments on where you are as a team based on what is obviously like a bogey opponent for you. And I do love what the Newcastle Jets are doing. Lachlan Bayliss scoring a lovely goal early in that game. Really, really early in that game. He went to the Olympics with New Zealand, most recent Olympics. He's born and raised Australian, but I think has a Kiwi father. He also has a slightly older brother called James Bayliss, who is currently playing OFC Pro League with Auckland FC. So there's I think he got man of the match for Auckland FC in their game on Sunday. I forget which day it was. Friday. It was Friday, wasn't it? On the same day that his brother Lachlan scored against the Phoenix in the A League. So it was a very good weekend for the Bayless whānau. So well, it's like hopefully, I don't know if they're good enough. Certainly Lachlan is the better player because he's still at the A League level. James has sort of been there and then missed out on the contract. If Lachlan's good enough to crack the All Whites one day, perhaps he'll get an opportunity. I'm not sure he's that good. I think that we got quite a lot. I mean, we just talked about how good Elijah Just is earlier. I don't think Lachlan Bayless is getting into that unless we're in one of those situations where it's like Blackcaps touring India right before a T20 World Cup, and let's mix it up a little bit. But it's nice to have Kiwi eligible players doing good things in the A League because there's not a whole lot at the moment, but there are at the Newcastle Jets because you're Lachlan Bayless for the Blokes. I think Ben Gibson is also eligible, but he's like coming off the bench. He's not. That's if Lachlan Bayless isn't getting his starting game scoring goals and not getting close to the All Whites, you're not going to a bench player in the A League. But of course, their A League women's team has Anna Leite, has Olivia Page, has Charlotte Lancaster, has Kelly Brown. Lancaster and Brown have both been scoring just sensational goals recently. And Anna Leite, even though she has been conceding a lot because the defense in front of her is not amazing, and they're giving up some big chances, she has been, because I've watched a lot of them because there's an obvious interest, she's been really good this season too. She's the best goalkeeper in the A-League, even if she doesn't necessarily have the highlight reel stuff to show for it. But the thing you notice straight away watching Anna Leite is there's no one in the A-League who comes close to her as a passer from goalkeeper. And it probably helps a bit that she did play half a season with Hibiscus Coast as a striker not so long ago, started last year. But like, she's just, she's doing Alex Paulson things and then some. She's hitting those chips over the top really accurately. She's doing that thing that Paulson also does, where it's like put your foot on the ball, wait for the press to come, then pass it around them and take a player out of the action. But a lot of goalkeepers, that's a nervous thing to do because if you mess that up, it's a goal and you look like an absolute idiot. So only like the most confident of those and the most skilled with their feet are going to be doing that stuff. Alex Paulson did it for a couple different A-League teams, and Elite's doing it all the time for Newcastle Jets, and it's a lot of fun to see.
And Storm Roux was playing for Central Coast.
He was, and Marco Rojas was not playing for Melbourne Victory when they smoked Sydney last night. I think Sydney could have gone top over Auckland FC if they had won, but they lost like 4-0, and Marco Rojas was in the crowd with the Victory fans having a good old time. So shout out to him. Like, it's always quite cool when you see that, when you see the players ex-player in this case now, but getting amongst it with the active support, that's cool stuff.
He's retired though, right?
He is retired, yes.
Right, okay. He's not part of their squad.
No, I don't think he'd be doing that if he had a contract, but to see he's retired, he's obviously living over there, and I think he's doing some like coaching type stuff. He has a Facebook page where he puts in like long essays about where he is in his life and things like this, and he's quite an interesting character. So shout out to Marco, great player and a great person above all, which is something that's been said at every club he's played at. Everyone just loves him as a dude, including when he was in Chile.
Storm Roux versus Callan Elliott.
No competition for me. That's Callan Elliott.
Okay.
Others might see different. Storm Roux is an experienced, reliable player. I think experienced, reliable A-League player is not good enough to be a All Whites backup. I'd take Bill Tuiloma over either of them, but I also think if you want a more specialist guy, Callan Elliott has to be the next one up.
Was Callan Elliott injured?
Huh? Played off the bench. They just decided they had to shoehorn Goodwood Rachin in a way that changed their entire defensive shape out of position, in possession, because it was when they were attacking that De Vries was going up. Slightly quirky Steve Corrigan coaching decision, selection decision there. And I think there's been a couple of those recently where some of his subs haven't worked. And a lot of last year he had Tommy Smith. You bring him on last 15, 20 minutes, you go to a back three, shut down the game. He's trying to do that with Gerwin Reich a few times, and I don't think that's been nearly, even though Gerwin Reich at this stage in his career versus Tommy Smith at this stage in his career is a better player. He's not doing that role anywhere near as well as the experienced Tommy Smith. I can fly buzzing right across my eye there. It's just a couple of those little ones where it's like, how do we shoehorn in Gerwin Reich, which I don't know that you need to do that. I think you have a perfectly functional team if he's just sitting on the bench as your backup. And maybe you could argue he's done that with Guillermo Mai a few times as well, although shocked to see when I was looking up sort of like the on-off stats, who's like goal difference, whatever, when they're on the pitch is the most effective. Like, in other words, which players while they're on the field are Auckland FC scoring more goals than conceding goals during those spells. The two top players were actually Logan Rogerson, not surprised by that, and Guillermo Mai, was surprised by that. Guillermo Mai started instead of Logan Rogerson on the weekend, and that's another factor, is that Rogerson drops out and they have a not so good performance. Well, actually, the performance was all right. Corica was talking afterward, like they created all those chances. And he was saying, like, he was talking about how much the second goal they conceded shouldn't have happened. That's nothing to do with the thing. That's just a freak incident. But I also was listening to him being like, yeah, but you can't say the performance is that good if you didn't score the chances. It's one thing to create moments and have good spells of possession, but if you don't capitalize on it, that's surely part of the equation as well. But the ingredients were there for a good performance. And Mai was probably, I thought, as well as he's played this season. But again, I don't know that you needed to shoehorn him in at the expense of Logan Rogerson, who was playing well in the system that was already working,
That's great stuff. I was just trying to get you to...
None of that was about the Phoenix. Yeah.
No, none of that was about Storm Roux. Because Storm Roux's starting right back in the A-League every week. Cullen Elliott, he's not a starter right now. Same as Ollie Sale.
Yeah, but he should have been.
That's your opinion.
And he's starting for the worst team versus coming off the bench for the best team. There's a...
Yeah, right. Yeah,
there's some hierarchy there as well.
The good performance without, like, scoring any goals is like, yeah, we bowled a few good balls, didn't take any wickets, but...
Yeah. A lot of play and misses. He scored 100 against us, but a lot of play and misses.
Yeah, that my stat was definitely surprising. Didn't expect that one. We are expecting a lot for Sam Ruthe, so let's just roll through a couple of quick hitters to finish here. Sam Ruthe set another record, which is, this one was just an age group record, so no big deal, just one of the best 16-year-old runners in the world.
Yeah, fastest 16-year-old mile ever. So yeah, sure. That's great. That's amazing. That's brilliant. It's not quite the New Zealand under 17, under 18, under 19, and under 20 records that he set in the 800 and 1500 meters, and beating his bro Sam Tanner as well. Sam Tanner got a bit of revenge in this one because he beat him in the mile. Both of them ran like a 3:53. Wasn't it like less than a year ago? Sam Ruthe burst onto the scene running the youngest dude to run a sub 4-minute mile. Now he's gone like more than 6 clear seconds under that. Every week he seems to just do, at the moment anyway, this year, and since 2026 started, every week he's just doing another insane thing which nobody else his age has ever done before. Just makes me impatient to see what, to skip forward a couple of years to when he starts doing this at like a not just age grade level, but just against everyone kind of level, like at a world-class situation,
Do you know like what his next up like schedule is?
He said after the race on the weekend that he's got a mile race every weekend for the rest of for the next couple of weeks or something like that. So this is all just stuff around New Zealand again. But there is a World Indoor Championships in March, so maybe we'll get to see some participation there, a major tournament debut, major event debut from him. That would be the earliest possible thing anything like that could happen. But, I mean, it's one of those, if you're old enough, he's not going to go there and win stuff. He's probably not going to go there and make finals. But if you're old enough, you're good enough. And he has hit qualifying times. certainly in the, I think it was the 800 meters he's qualified for, or he's hit the time to qualify for. So I don't know. You expect this guy to be challenging for medals in 5-6 years. You might as well get some experience early on in your career. Why not?
The Breakers had a loss to Adelaide, and they are now 2 spots outside the play-in tournament. 10 and 17 winning percentage. No, I don't know what these percentages are. They got a win percentage.
Points percentages. It's points scored versus points conceded,
but they're ranked on
they're under
win
100%.
percentage, I think. 37.04.
Yeah, okay.
Illawarra ahead of them, 38.4. Don't really think the Breakers are going to be in playoffs, so shout out to them. Good
Particularly
stuff.
not since Sam Meninga broke his wrist in that game against Adelaide on the weekend, which they could have won that. They should have won that. They actually played really well against probably the best team in the competition now. Adelaide are in superb form. Led by Bryce Cotton, but ably assisted by Flynn Cameron, who has been tremendous for them. Like him going there, and they have this they kept talking about in the game on the weekend about like the 4-guard lineup. Well, Flynn Cameron can play on the wing as well as he can play as a guard, so that's not necessarily same with Bryce Cotton, but I guess the point is you got four shooters and a big man, 4 guys who can all handle the ball and the big man. And Flynn Cameron is one of them, and he's actually doing a lot of the ball handling, hit a couple of big 3-pointers in I think in overtime or fourth quarter, sort of, clutch moments in that game. He was fantastic. He's having such a good season for them since leaving Melbourne to get a bigger role. Well, he's gotten a bigger role, and now he's thriving there. But the Breakers were, what was it, like 2 points up with about 8 seconds to go in overtime, and they had a 5-second violation, couldn't inbound the ball properly. Like one of
Good
those
coaching.
borderline. Yeah, well, you said it, not me, but I'll also say it is coaching. Your team is not prepared to play well in the big moments. That is a coach's responsibility. But that was a Michael Vald-esque moment, right? Vald throws the ball over his shoulder, concedes a thing. Well, the Breakers can't inbound the ball when all you got to do is get the ball in someone's hands. They're going to foul you. You make your free throws. You win the game. You don't do that. You give a free turnover to the other team. They go down the other end, and Bryce Cotton hits a 3-pointer to win the game. Like, that is a win turned into a loss just like that through a stupid little bit of basketball, and they've been doing stupid little bits of basketball in important moments for a lot of the season. Is why they should, like, their record, what did you say, 10 and 17? That could be flipped. They could be 17 and 10. They've had enough close games where it's like, if you were any good at handling these situations, you'd be winning at least half of these, and they're not doing that. They're losing almost all of these close games over and over and over again, and now they got to try win a bunch in a row without Sam Meninga. I just don't think that's going to happen, sadly.
Especially not because, like, fair play, I haven't watched the Breakers in a while, because when we're talking about
missed anything, it's the same story.
When we're talking about the coolest sports teams in New Zealand, which the Warriors are the coolest team in New Zealand, and the Phoenix, I think, are up there, and Auckland FC's up there, and that's a different conversation. You never know when the Breakers are playing. You never know where they're playing, which tells you about the cool status for the Breakers, and they're 4-8 in home games, so that's a problem. But start of the season, my main take for the Breakers was that I don't think the coach is very good, because when they have inbounds, when they coming out of timeouts and those things, which are usually the indicators of coaching excellence in basketball, the Breakers turn the ball over. The Breakers can't get the ball to where they want it to go. And it's good to see that even though I haven't watched the Breakers in a while, they're still making the same mistakes, and actually they might be making worse mistakes in bigger moments. So we'll just wait and see what happens there. But we did have a Tall Ferns squad as well, and this will finish this week I do expect to be dropping a few more rugby league notes in the podcast. Of course, we're doing rugby league videos every week on YouTube as well, so make sure you check that out if you're doing a bit of rugby league knowledge. But the junior rep stuff will be starting. Warriors under-19s around Aotearoa, so it'll be interesting to track the players from under-19s in Australia and New Zealand. But it'll be interesting to check the Kiwi NRL juniors in those teams. But we got a Tall Ferns training camp squad. And in our newsletter, you also had a update for Charlize Ledger-Walker, who's playing college basketball for Donald Trump. And she's doing pretty well, so that's good stuff for her, coming back from injury. What do we need to know about the Tall Ferns generally? Not necessarily this camp, because players are just going to get together and train, but what do we need to know about the Tall Ferns generally based on your knowledge of what's happened with this training camp squad?
Well, it's already happened. The training camp was sort of over last week and the weekend, so they've done that. It's not it's just players who happen to be available. So players who are in the Australian League at the moment, where there's about 6 or so New Zealanders playing over there. Unavailable players who happen to be playing in Europe or wherever, and especially in the college stuff in the United States. They're all unavailable. 1 or 2 veterans, I think, maybe chose not to participate in this, who had played tauihi, but maybe either having a rest or something, or nothing to prove, or coach wanted to look at a few different options and they know what they're getting from these ones, or maybe there might have been some retirements we haven't heard around, or players unavailable for the next phase kind of thing. The next phase, I think, is it's World Cup qualifying, because we had Olympics not that long ago. I think World Cup is the next big tournament. And yeah, the Tall Ferns don't usually qualify for big tournaments. The Tall Blacks are pretty good at getting to World Cups, never not getting to Olympics so much, but decent at getting to World Cups. Tall Ferns haven't been there, but we are now. I think Nat Hurst has had at least a year in charge of the team, so there's a bit more continuity there to the sort of this phase of the program. And I guess she just had a little block in the calendar and wanted to have a look at a few different players. So there's some sort of established players. Taylor Dalton was there, Alafotu was there, Paula Tokianga, very young, has been in pretty consistent spot in Tall Ferns squads for the last couple of years. And then a bunch of younger players. And I guess that's the thing to learn about this, is it's a clue as to, well, these are the players that have, most of them play tauihi as well. Players who, probably a lot more rapidly than the competition itself, but still that is a spotlight. So who are Kiriana Hippolyte, Olivia Hastings, Katie Moores, Grayson Parahi, Riley Rogers, Emma Rogers. So there's a few players there where it's I don't think any of them have played for the Tall Ferns senior team before, but they've been called up to a training camp. So that is your clue, is these are some players who are on the radar. These are some players who are sort of in the conversations when the coaches are getting together and chatting through some of these things. Katie Moores is a particularly interesting one, because like I wrote in the newsletter, she's from the Moores clan, where James Moores, really good, strong college career, that he's about 25 or 26 now, that finished a year or two ago. Remember him coming back and having a fantastic campaign for Manawatu Jets in the New Zealand League. Then since then, he's been playing overseas in I think he's in Austria at the moment. I think he spent some times in Belgium. So playing professional basketball, not in major leagues, but he's making a job out of it. He had a great college career. Katie Moores, I think, just has recently dominated the secondary schools champs with Westlake Girls, I think, last year. And her older sisters, Rebecca and Jess, also have, I think, are still at college stuff in the USA. So likely that Katie goes through there. I think there's a couple other siblings as well, and at least I think there's a younger brother who is sort of on the rise, but too young to know what the trajectory is. But it looks like Katie Moores is probably someone who would very likely be able to get a college scholarship, which would mean 4 players in the same generation of the same family doing that, possibly with more to come. That's there's a lot of great basketballing families in Aotearoa, like, you know, the Camerons, obviously mentioned Flynn Cameron before, Ledger Walkers, of course. The Moores are doing some pretty crazy stuff for quantities themselves.
And of course, Adelaide 36ers with Flynn Cameron are first in the NBL.
The best team, and he is in their closing lineup as a starting player. He's big stuff. He might, like, because considering Shea Lee's basically been injured almost the entire season, Sam Wardenberg was great for about a month or two, but was injured for a long time before that, and now is out for the rest of the season with another injury. Finn Delaney's been very good, but not like he's not one of the star players for Melbourne. Flynn Cameron's probably the highest performing Kiwi this season. Sam Meninga would be the only guy in really rivaling him for that. Oh, and Tyrell Harrison. But the Brisbane Bullets have not, like with most recent seasons, they've not been particularly good. I think when you balance out Harrison's sort of like volume of numbers or the rebounds that he gets, with the fact that Flynn Cameron's doing what he's doing for the best team, I think Flynn Cameron is going to nudge that one as well.
Beauty. That's our podcast for today. Big up to you. Tap in with all niche case matters. And if you do like what we're doing, the best way to support us is Patreon. Shout out to the Patreon whānau. Shout out to yourself. Big up. Kia kaha. Stay beautiful. Chur chur.